Hello listeners, and welcome to another week on Chasm Converses. Today my guest is one that you may recognise if you've been listening from the very start of this podcast. It's Amelia Dembowski, and we have a wonderful conversation that includes more facts and information about Lord of the Rings. Amelia also takes us through transitioning from synth wave pop into dungeon synth, and we go through her new EP as Obscura Ausralis, and also find out where the name comes from. And we finish off with some chilling tales about the Necronomicon, the book she's currently reading. So join us, and let's get conversing. Chasm Converses. Hello listeners, listening far, wide, wherever you are today. I hope you're having a lovely morning, afternoon, and or night, and ready to get your ears set for conversation number 47. And my guest today is someone who you may recognise if you have been with me from the very, very start. I've got Amelia Dembowski on the show today. How are you today, love?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. How are you, mate?
Fantastic. It's very, very steamy and warm being back over in Adelaide, South Australia.
Yeah, I can imagine.
For those of you who don't know, I am back in Adelaide, South Australia right now. You were one of these people who did not know until this morning. So, yes, I must have kept it very...
I was like, what?
I must have kept it very under wraps.
I didn't know. You just didn't say anything. I was like,
nice.
I thought you were still in England. I'm like, I'm ready at 2:00 Australian time. You're like, oh, I'm back in Adelaide. I'm like, you didn't tell me. Didn't tell me.
I didn't tell you. There's not a lot of people that I sold. It's one of those things like once you sell like a few people and you do like a few posts, you just get to the point of like, oh, people can probably put it together by now, but it's not really how the world works. But that's just kind of how my brain works. So God knows how many other people still think I'm overseas, but I guess I know we'll figure that out later on as we go.
Let them keep thinking it. Be mysterious.
Yeah, that's the best way. Exactly. No, that's the best way to go about life. Let's go and be in much more of a mysterious way. I'd love to jump back because obviously you're my third podcast guest when I very first started doing this. And I had a look because I was like, it must be pretty close to almost a year since we last had a conversation on one of these things. And the weirdest thing is that it's I checked right before this conversation to see where we were. And quite literally, it was the 12th of January that we did our conversation. It came out in February. So we are literally 2 days behind the year.
No, you know what? So much has changed. So much has changed for me in 1 year.
It's so crazy, hey. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, hell yeah, we've got to do like these old not reviewing sessions, but like have the classic guests back on as well, see what's going on and all the rest of it. I also just realized that my pen doesn't pick up when it's in the blurred. So like I could be holding my pen here and it's like blurry. And then if I put it here, the pen just appears in shot. That's awesome. So silly.
If anyone's interested, this colour lip gloss was actually the lip gloss used for Arwen in Lord of the Rings. It's called Black Cherry.
Oh my
God. I know it went a bit viral.
Surely not. Okay. Oh my goodness.
It is. It went a bit viral, and I love the lip colour, so I actually got it and I'm wearing it. That was a bit of a clinique. It's not sponsored. I'm not doing any sponsors.
This podcast is literally just becoming unanimous in just Lord of the Rings trivia and just facts. This is probably about the fifth or fourth one that we've had.
No way.
Oh man.
Another one. I've actually got Arwen's necklace as well.
Oh no way. Oh my God.
Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings.
So this changes to a Lord of the Rings podcast. I've got enough guests to be able to do that. Oh my goodness.
You sure you haven't got the more dungeon synth people in the works? Because like it seems to me people into dungeons obviously are into like Dungeons and Dragons or anything like medieval role play, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I looked it up on Google Trends yesterday actually. Yeah. I was like, how many people know? How many people in the world know about dungeon synth? So I had a look, and predominantly it's America, Russia, Australia.
Ah, there you go. Just those big three.
Yeah. And that's just a dungeon synth word, but then the actual dungeon synth, there's like the word and then there's the music genre. It's right. Don't ask me why they separate it. It's the same term, I don't know. But it's predominantly popular in Finland.
Yes. I was going to say, because because the black metal, and I obviously was there over.
Yeah, they're there hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hell,
Yes.
this is the one thing that I bought from Finland, and it literally just looks like that. Like it's
Can
just
you
like a black.
show me?
It's basically
What is
like
it?
it's
Show
like a
me.
tooth of some sort, but it was made by a
I love it.
blacksmith. But it just gives that exact same like kind of Scandinavian sort of like dungeon kind of vibe. And yeah, they're all into that kind of stuff. So like, I mean, have you ever been overseas to Finland before? I can't remember if I've asked you or
No, but
not.
I really want to now. I want to go to Norway, Finland, and Sweden. I do want to go to Germany, and I do want to go to Poland. Oh, Poland's another main country that's into dungeons synth at the moment too.
Right. I met so many Polish
right
people in
marketer.
London. It was so weird. Like I probably met one Polish person in my life before I went overseas, and now I've met probably about 10 of them. Like every second person.
They're all in London.
Every second person in London's like, yeah, I'm from Poland. I'm like, oh, another one. No way.
Everyone's there.
You guys just keep popping up like all the time or whatever.
Yeah, because my surname's Polish, so it's just like
yeah, exactly. What's your middle name? Because that like also looks like it's from somewhere else as well.
It's from Lord of the Rings, my love. It's Lord of the Rings.
Oh, exactly.
So my mum, okay, so why I love Lord of the Rings so much, my mum is a big fan of the book. She's always, since she was a little girl.
Yeah.
And she always wanted one of her children to have one name that had something to do with Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So mum come up with Amelia Lorien, which is a Lothlorien, which Gladriel lives in the forest of Lothlorien.
Right.
So she did tinker with the idea of calling me Gladriel, but I'm glad I dodged that bullet.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think I could handle being Gladriel, Lorien, Dembowski. I don't. Gladdy? What's up, Gladys? No.
This
I'm
is like
glad
another,
I'm Amelia Lorien.
This is like another fact to add into the Lord of the Rings pile that that I'm just creating more and more. It's gonna have to be after like for the majority of guests this year, I'm gonna have to like just have a question and be like, do you have any Lord of the Rings facts that you can just tell me from your life? Because everybody else seems to have one.
Just right now.
Oh my goodness.
Middle name's Lorien here. What's another Lord of the Rings? I don't know. I can't remember what the first thing I said about Lord of the Rings. I can't remember.
Oh, it seems to be everyone was a big fan, but that's fine. There's so much going on already, so that's totally fine. We can branch out from Lord of the Rings a little bit now. But no, I was gonna say the last as for the people that would have known that have been listening from the start and whatever, they would have known you as Lionsmith, because that was what your alias was the last time that we had a conversation.
Yeah, my synthwave name. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to know how that kind of went down, because obviously you've had quite a big year transitioning out of that into now what you do with the dungeon synth. So please take me through it.
So with synthwave, obviously it's on the synth genre, that electronic music. I came across it like just randomly. Obviously, it goes to suggested posts and stuff like that. You might like this. So it came up on my Spotify. Yeah, so it came up on my Spotify and it came up on Instagram, and it was Out of Season label that popped up. That's one of the distros. I think they're based in Maine. I think.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Maine. And their stuff, so they've got different artists on their label. I can't remember which one it was that came up. It might have been Questmaster, I think. He's Australian, by the way.
Right.
Look him up. He's good. Questmaster's great. I'm pretty sure he's Australian. Anyway, if you're listening, Questmaster, please don't kill me. Okay, don't come to my house.
I'm going to send this
with a sword and with a big like ball and chain. Like, what the fuck, me? Nah. And I started listening to that, and I really loved it. I was like, this is amazing, because I really love film music. I love composing. I've been into that for a very long time, and that's something that I've always wanted to branch into. And I feel Dungeon Synth was a good starting point for that, because it's all mostly musical, like less not much vocals at all. It's just all like atmospheric, dark ambient. Just like it's just to like just immerse yourself in a different like world. Like sometimes they'll put pictures up on their YouTube videos, so you like it would be like I say like a forest or something really beautiful, like drawn forest, very like all in dark colors, or sometimes just like a sketch pen or like fine liner pen, and you just have to imagine yourself going through that forest, and you just start to immerse yourself in this. I think you got to be on mushrooms a little bit. Thought about mushrooms last time, didn't I?
I think so.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
some
no.
sort of psychedelic.
Yeah, no.
I think it was. But
Yeah,
because it's so good that they've got like that. Some of them have like visuals to sort of like paint a picture of what the instrumentation is sort of like giving to the listener, because obviously they can't describe it through words, so it's more so through feel and through visions and through listening, which is just which again would I mean, if you're on mushrooms, it would definitely heighten the senses to be in that spot.
Yeah, I haven't yet. Like to.
Yes.
Don't kill me.
No.
But
Same.
Same. But yeah, no, I'd love to. No, it's just, I'm pretty good with my imagination. I can immerse myself in there. And when I did that, obviously moving pictures, music, that's always fascinated me in film. I love it. There's people say, film is what do they say? Not a picture medium, but they say it's only like a visual medium. Well, I don't think that's completely true. I feel like it's obviously an auditory as well, because yes, I know we did have black and white pictures back in the day, and they had music on the top of that. I just feel like you can have, still, like, not still movies, but what am I saying? You can have movies without music.
Yeah.
I'm shit with my terms, I don't give a fuck about terms. I just say it how it is.
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. That's fine. Then we can figure out the way we go.
I'm not academic. I'm sorry. Whatever actually the term is.
Oh, yes.
You. Anyway,
like the stop motion things, like they've got those, like how you can have like stop motion came to my head just then. How you can have like those really nice kind of fluid sort of like visions over the top of music as well. It's another one that can go through it too.
Yeah, but I think like just saying film is just a visual medium, I think it really downplays the people that are in the like the audio music side of it, because they a good soundtrack to a movie, how much does that make it more freaking amazing? Like
huge.
Oh
Massively
man,
huge.
like you can't say it's not just a visual medium, like, and that's why I love film, because I've watched a movie before and I've felt so engaged more in the movie because of the music.
100%.
Much more engaged. And
the
emotions are heightened, and I don't know, I just feel like the emotional intelligence of it all is better as well. Like, you feel different. Music gives you, it's pretty spiritual, really. Like I feel myself, like it can really take you to places where you didn't feel like you could go before. That and you must have had this yourself, where you've listened to a song and it's made you like feel something or think of something that you haven't really thought of before, and you're like, it kind of does something to your brain. I don't know, have you had that before?
Oh no, definitely. I had that literally just before we actually came on here, because while I was fixing all my tech stuff, I was listening to just an EP by Heaven She, who's just like obviously Jenna McDougall, pop punk, Tonight Alive, did an EP of like just more so acoustic guitar, indie sort of stuff, and it's just, I just love it. It's so good. But then like one of the songs that she put out, like, first under Heaven She, I literally was just going through the track list, and then that came on, and even just like, because I know the words and stuff, and I'm singing, and there was parts where I was like, I couldn't even sing because I was just like coughing up. Because I'm just like, oh man, this is just like, I can't get to the next word, because it's just so beautifully just like written, and just the melodies are so good that it just, I can't even get to the next spot. It's like, damn. But then you can also have that with, instrumentation in movies and in TV shows. Like, I mean, for me, especially, growing up, watching like, Doctor Who and like, Star Wars, and even Lord of the Rings, again, to come back to that fact. Like, if you hear that track, Harry Potter, any of that sort of like music, man, you sit there and you listen to it, and you're just like, it's got the nostalgic element, but then you can just be there. You can just be in that fucking space straight away. Like, there's no better feeling than going to Hobbiton in fucking New Zealand and then just cracking in headphones and just ignoring the tour guide and just walking around listening to the Shire theme songs, being like, I'm fucking here. I'm a hobbit right now.
Here.
I'm not me
I'm
anymore.
a hobbit.
Yeah, it's the best.
You've changed reality. You've gone to a parallel universe. Like, and I feel like music for me, because I'm quite a visual person and I'm quite an imaginative person. I've always been that since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
Music for me, instantly I get pictures in my mind. It flashes across my eyes. I don't know what you call it. I don't know what it is, but I will be listening to something and all of a sudden a picture will appear in front of me. Yeah. Just like that. And And it's not like a schizophrenic or schizoid thing, but it's just more like, I don't know, synesthesia, maybe. I don't know what it is, but like
it's some sort of creative element for sure.
Yeah, it's like a movie will start playing in my head, and when I started listening to dungeon synth music, exactly the same thing happened, but 10 times more prominent, more powerful. So I was like, I don't know, something in me was just like, obviously, again, I'm quite spiritual, so I'm like, I need to do this music. So I literally was just like, nope, not doing synthwave anymore, going straight into dungeon synth. And I feel like ever since then, I've just connected with it really well.
Wow.
And I love it ever since.
That's
Absolutely
really good.
Love it ever since.
I love that you're able to transition. Like, I mean, obviously it may not have been that quick, or it may have been that quick, but yeah, I love that you're able to sort of switch and just know exactly that. No, this is the direction that I'm pointing in now. This is the one I'm going to go for. But it's one of those things that, you know, if you're having these feelings towards it and they're giving you your visions and that sort of stuff, it's kind of like, well, I got to use this, because if I don't use it, these things are just going to keep coming to me, and it's not going to be like, they'll be worthless. Right, yeah. So it's like, that's a massive thing with like creators in itself, that, you know, you get ideas and this sort of stuff pops up and whatever. And a lot of people are so set in the life that they have that they just bypass it and it just goes away. But especially, I mean, you can agree with this as well, even for myself. Like, if I come up with something, like, I've got to write it down. I've got to do something with it. It might be on the shelf, but it's there to be used, because it's like, well, if I come up with this as easily as I do, then surely I should use it, because it's easy. And it's like, it's not really hard work for me to do this kind of stuff.
That's right. Yeah. Gosh, that's true.
Yeah, but my goodness, it'd be so good to just delve into all that sort of dungeons and stuff. What was your sort of, actually, I wanted to know, what was the idea behind the name of it? Because I'm probably going to absolutely scuff this up, but like Obscura Australis, is that what the name of it is?
Obscura Australis, yeah, that's
nice,
it.
cool.
Yeah, that's it.
Sick. It rolls off the tongue so well. Like, where did that come from?
Gosh, do you know what? I had this so when I was listening to this music, so I get ideas pop in my mind, like they don't just I don't like find a subject, you know, I'm gonna, you know, I don't know, I just, these things just come to
me too. Yeah.
And I was just thinking about Convict Australia, and then I was thinking about somehow Banjo Patterson came into my head. Weird, so strange. And then the man from the Snowy Mountains, that story came into my head. And then all of a sudden I got a picture of this dark forest in the Victorian Alps.
Right.
And I saw this woman, this witch woman, or this spirit, and she was a convict. She was murdered. And then I see a gunslinger swagman in the forest, going into this forest. And then I see this woman like pursuing this man, like following him in the forest, you know. Yeah. And that's how this story started happening. Like, it's about a man, like a lost swagman loses himself into this dark, mysterious forest. And then, and then he comes across this very like mythical things, like strange, dark, like, entities are around. And he meets this woman of this witch of the forest, and she's a part of the forest because she died in there. Right. And one of the songs that I did that sort of solidified that story is called like The Cave of the Convict Woman. So if you imagine yourself, so when you go through my EP, it's actually in chronological order from like the Gunslinger and the Fave Forest, the Cave of the Convict Woman, and then you got the Graveyard of Swagmen, and then you've got the Path of Forgiveness.
Yes, that's right.
So that is in chronological order. So the Cave of the Convict Woman is when he meets her for the first time, and then he sees her story. And when you're listening to it, and through the middle of it, you hear like screaming. I don't know if you listened to all of it.
I listened to quite a bit of it. Yeah, it's been quite nice and melodic. It's like I sort of tuned out a little bit after a while because I was like, "Oh, this is so nice." I think I had some screaming in there somewhere.
So and that's her obviously getting attacked. So what happened with her? The made-up story I've got, like she ran away from the convict camp. Men were trying to find her. Obviously, they caught her. They killed her in the forest, left for dead. But then the forest takes her in and she becomes a part of the forest.
That's so cool.
And she takes over the forest. And she takes over the forest, and she's always seeking revenge from what happened to her. So now she sees this gunslinger guy come in. Obviously, I've never really, we don't really know what his personality is. Or we're just, seeing that it's more the convict woman's story than the gunslinger man. But obviously she wants revenge, and it's all about the listeners' perspective, like their interpretation of this. I'm just giving a little story here that everyone else can just run with what they think happens next.
That's
whatever.
So cool though. Like I've watched movies that are much just terrible, and that's an amazing story. Like that's just I can see that like visually playing out. To the point where like I want to see it visually playing out in front of me while I listen to that soundtrack behind it. Is that something that you would want to do, like, or have an idea to kind of do? Because that would be fucking sick.
I have had the idea of should I make this into a short film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be awesome to do like a short film or like a animation or something like that to coincide and to link together with the music. Because I mean, as I said, with a story like that, there's so much that could just be involved in it, so many different elements. And then like even if it branched out to something like longer or whatever, you can have like different characters be solidified from, like you said, like the villagers and the convicts as well as the woman herself. And it's
look,
so cool.
By all means, it's a film. If a filmmaker hears your podcast and he likes the idea, I've pretty much sort of pitched it a little bit on here. And if they want to make it, and they can use my songs as the soundtrack.
That could be fantastic.
Based on the EP of Obscura Australis.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. So wait, that's the question that we asked. So wait, how did you come up with that name, the Obscura Australis?
How did I come up with that name?
Yeah, I think that's the question that we started off. That's the question that we started with.
So I know we go on tangents, don't we? We're terrible.
Great, Pete. Great conversation. It's good for a podcast.
So I'm just going to get it for the sticklers out there. I'm Googling the correct term of obscura. So obscura means a darkened enclosure in which images of outside objects are projected through a small lens. But no, one a second.
Okay.
It just means dark.
Dark, right? Okay. So that was more elaborate, I suppose, than what it's supposed to be.
Dark,
but yes, just dark. Yeah. Another word for dark.
Just dark. Another word for dark. Yeah. And Australis, I'm pretty sure it just means south. But
that would make a lot of sense because I mean, like, it's quite literally one letter away from being Australia, which is, south of the world. So
yeah. So here we got from Baiju, the word Australia. So the name Australia derives from the Latin Australis, meaning southern, and dates back to the 2nd century legends of an unknown southern land. Or Terra Australis Incognita.
Right, cool. So it's almost like a dark, incognito southern land. That's pretty sweet. Yeah.
So damn. I guess that's translated to Dark Australia.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about the dark, and I'm talking about the dark history of Australia.
Yeah. Wow. Could you imagine? That's really cool. I love how that all sort of played together. No, well done. That's well done. No, that's really great. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. But no, it's so cool that you sort of went on the dungeon synth path and that kind of stuff. Because as I said, like it's just such a cool thing to kind of do. And again, with yourself just really enjoying, movies, TV shows, and most of the musical elements behind them, like the scores and that kind of stuff. Like I remember, I think I remember you saying that the last time that we spoke was that you wanted to do more production work and you wanted to do more scores and that sort of stuff for TV shows or movies, or go to be in that kind of put your hat in that spot. And so like it's so cool that basically like a year later you've just done this, which is like a starting point for what you want to do eventually, which is fantastic because again, especially since you were in something already, and then once this came up, it was kind of like, no, like this is the direction right here, and you sort of left that behind, you went in that direction, and now you've come up with this stuff, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm working on another one now. I think it's going to be sea-based. So it's going to still go in sort of same like Dark History of Australia, like the convicts, but on the boat when they came over on the boats, and have a story
Right.
on the boat coming over.
Wow. Okay.
So I'll have that story.
Yeah, that'd be quite fascinating.
And then after that, I think obviously I'll do something different. But I don't know why I'm so focused on Dark Australia. And it's not really spoken about often enough for how Australia became.
Yeah, right. Maybe you could be the voice that does that.
Yeah, especially like obviously I can't speak for our Indigenous side, obviously, and what they've been through. But I can speak for like our convict English side and
true.
that happened there. I mean, I've heard a story once where, a woman stole a silver spoon or something, and they shipped her off to Australia. I can't remember who was telling me this now. It was many years ago, but there was, look it up on Wikipedia, the Parramatta Baby Factory.
Wow. Okay, that's a big one. I'll put that down in my book. Parramatta Baby Factory.
I feel like I'm on Joe Rogan podcast now because he Googles things.
Yeah, I mean, this might literally be the way of things now. Hey.
Yeah. So they were trying to get women to come into the convict colonies. So obviously they wanted to grow they had more men than women, so they were trying to get more women to come over. So what this person told me, and I don't know if this is true history or not, but I think he did his research a little, but they were just convicting women just for little things so they could ship them to Australia so they can have women, the men over here.
Wow, that's so strange, isn't it? My goodness. Yeah,
that's what he told me.
Right.
But, that could be wrong. I could be talking a whole load of shit, but
possibly,
this all could be hearsay.
Yeah, it's still a fascinating thing to sort of bring up and to have a little bit of a research about, though. Like, yeah, wow, that's so crazy. I mean, that's like another sort of, I guess, spot that you could probably like talk about and or sing about as well. So, like, yeah, there's so many different options, I suppose. Hey,
there is. I think it was called. I know there was a female factory.
Right.
I'm just trying to look for it now. The history of the female factory in Parramatta. The Parramatta female factory was designed by convict architect Francis Greenway in 1818, and the only female building authorised Governor Lachlan Macquarie. It comprises the 1821 matron's quarters and administration and stores building, the 1821 female hospital, and the 1826 third-class female penitentiary.
Oh, wow, okay.
No, so, yeah.
Damn. Yeah, that's a whole lot, isn't it? So fascinating to go into this sort of stuff.
It is, but like a baby factory of Sydney. Oh, here we go.
Oh, boy.
WordPress.
You got some coffee for this one for sure.
Dear. Built in 1893, the Women's Hospital aimed to lift medical standards for maternity and complicated surgery cases. Many thousands of Sydney residents were born there as the largest maternity hospital at the time for complicated births and surgical cases.
Right, okay. 1803. Wow. It's so cool. Like, especially, I always love to like sort of look around like older buildings, especially in London. Like, there's so many just like such old buildings from like the 1655 and like the 15, all that sort of stuff. Like, and you just go there, you like just touching the buildings, like, oh my god, this thing's been standing up for so long. It's insane. And there's so many of these ones. I mean, like the most of the buildings, I think, more so in Australia, are not modernized, but obviously they're more so from the 1700s, 1800s, that sort of stuff. But then, even like going into the graveyards and seeing like gravestones of people from just like the fucking 1700s is just wow. It's so crazy, but it's so fascinating.
Yeah. So this is something from Wikipedia I've just found. Sorry.
Oh, right.
How were female convicts treated? The women would be employed in factories equivalent of the English workhouse, but often had to find their own accommodation and would be under great pressure to pay for it with sexual services.
Oh, right. Good Lord.
In this way, all the women convicts tended to be regarded as prostitutes.
Oh, man, that's terrible. Yeah.
it gets a bit murky. It's getting a bit murky.
History, right?
So I think it was a director in Sydney that told me this like ages ago, a fella. I can't remember his name, but because I lived in Sydney at the time as well, and I think he must have done some research into what happened at those women's factories and baby factories or whatever. And I was, they had institutions for wayward women as well, that women got pregnant at an early age and they would take them in. And honestly, it's just some real murky,
exactly,
crazy shit.
It's one of those things with history. Sometimes you delve in a bit too deep. You're like, oh boy, what's this? This is terrible.
Yeah,
this is horrible what they did back in the day. And you're kind of like, I might just steer away from this now for a little bit. But oh man, it's so crazy. But even so, like, I mean, delving into history is it's good to do, especially when it comes to like, finding things out like to write about and stuff like that, because you can kind of unearth all that kind of stuff as well. And through that, people like me learn about it. And we're like, oh my God, did you know about this kind of thing? And so, I mean, I've learned something today.
I mean, most of that stuff was for me from hearing secondhand knowledge. Obviously, that was many years ago, and obviously I might not have it all correct. So I hate saying things that, I mean, I've said it now, but like I'll try and be correct, but I always say, look, this is what I've heard. And then I like to try and research again, like when I go on Google and like
to make sure that it's completely accurate and that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly.
And it looks like it could have happened. I'm like, ooh.
Touchy subject.
Yeah. I'm like, holy moly. Yeah.
This has been so cool. Right before we go, I might just ask a really cool question, because remember the last time we had a conversation, we were talking a lot about reading and books and that kind of stuff, and you've got a really cool mind and love different genres of books. So like, is there anything at the moment that you're reading that is quite mythical, witchy, dungeony? There you go. You're gonna have to pronounce that for me.
This is the Simon Necronomicon.
Necronomicon, right. You were telling me about this. Yes, that's right. I remember that. Yep.
Please, for the love of God, everyone, tread carefully when you're reading this book. Do not use the rituals in this book either. I don't. I'm just reading it just out of curiosity about the story about the Mad Arab. And some of it, you read through it, and some of it's like, doesn't make sense, or, but I assure you, be careful.
Yeah, I'd absolutely say that. My goodness, yeah.
But if you do want to read it, now with this book, even says here, this is a testimony of all that I've seen, all that I've learned. For all this is the book of the dead, the book of the black earth that I have writ down, and the peril of my life. That's the Mad Arab.
Yeah, right.
So I read a little bit of the blurb, everybody. H.P. Lovecraft himself denied the book's existence, but the dreaded Necronomicon has finally surfaced. It's been out for a while now. Yeah. Written in Damascus in the 18th century AD by the Mad Arab, Abdul Al-Hazred. Sorry if I can't say that correctly. I'm sorry. The accursed volume is filled with myths and rituals that have survived the darkest days of magic and occultism, long forgotten formulae for evoking incredible things, beings, and monsters into physical appearance. Oof. The editor, Simon, overcoming huge obstacles during this daring efforts to bring this to light. The most famous, the most potent, and potentially the most dangerous black book known in the Western world.
My goodness, wow.
So everyone, please be careful.
Yeah,
that's what I'm reading at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep doing this disclaimer, guys, because I'm going to say real quickly, like when I started reading this, but I haven't read it for a bit now because I got a bit freaked out. So I'm just reading it. And afterwards, I went to bed like middle of the night. I hear this outside. And I'm like, what the hell was that? So I look out when nothing there, and I hear I'm like, that's weird. And it wasn't windy that night or anything. I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
So then I, looked on YouTube, and there's a lot of information about this on YouTube, and people have used this book. So I would recommend they're very experienced, like, warlocks, wizards, witches that I only just read. I don't do the things in this book.
We don't exercise.
And they said, when you start delving into this book and you start reading it and you are accepting things, because it's powerful into this book. And they said sometimes you will hear things, and when you start hearing things, that's them knocking, like that's them knowing that they exist. So if it's without anything, if you acknowledge a spirit or something that exists, it will start coming into your life. So then I was like, I'm not reading this book for a little bit until I get more information and how to protect myself.
Oh my goodness. Well, with that, we'll tread carefully on the hollow ground of the Necronomicon for sure. That's the perfect way. That's the perfect way to finish off this episode. My goodness, that was like, oh man, I'm going to have to tread into that eventually. But it's been so wonderful to have a conversation with you today, Amelia.
Yeah, you too.
Honestly, like so much. This is going to be so great to edit. Just so much to go into and so much to.
I know. We could talk for hours and hours.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. No,
I know.
It's such a wonderful thing. But even so, I do wish you all the best in the rest of the Dungeon Synth stuff, and I do look forward to seeing if you do a visual for your EP, because I would watch it very, very much.
I'll check in with you in a year's time.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning into the episode this week. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Amelia and myself. Go check out her new music and chuck her a follow on the socials to keep up to date with everything that she's got going on. There are links in the description of the episode where you can find it all. As for myself, follow me on Instagram or YouTube @ThisIsChasm. And if you've ever wanted to see me perform live, Kazarin, the metalcore band that I front, will be playing at the Low Life Basement in Adelaide on February 9th with Larson, Spaghetti Death Trap and Swordfish Trombone. Check the link in the description for more. And please leave a rating and a review for the show wherever you listen to your podcasts, and I'll see you next week for a new episode with a new guest here on Chasm Converses.